Hello B Squad, and welcome back to another episode of VGIRL TV. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to my canal, the YouTube. And by the title of this video, you already know what this video is going to be about. But let's dive deep. Let's get into this, okay? One of my subscribers asked me if, actually, let me get the question. So the question is, for the most part, do you enjoy living in Panama as opposed to the States? Excellent question. If you have questions, you could just leave it in the comment section and I will make a whole video about it like I'm doing right now. Let's dive deep into this question. So a lot of you have been asking me that. A lot of people have been messaging me and sending me messages in my DMs asking me if I still like living in Panama versus me being in the States. So the answer is, do I still like living in Panama? Yes. I still love living in Panama. There are things about Panama that I absolutely love and I absolutely enjoy. There's also things about being in the States that I actually love as well. But I would say one of the main reasons why I actually left the US is because it was more so because of my son. For those of you who have not gotten a chance to watch my video on why I left America or why I chose to move to Panama, I will leave the link in the corner. I don't know which side it's going to be on, but you can click there and you can watch that video and then you can come back to this one. But one of the reasons why I left was because of my son. The climate in the US when I decided to leave was very hot. It was scary, especially when you are raising children. It was super scary. You don't know, what could possibly happen. So that was like one of the main reasons why I left. But I still come back and forth. I just choose to raise my son in Panama right now. For me, that is the decision that I feel is best for me and my child in this situation. In no way am I saying that you can't have a child and raise them in the US and they won't be outstanding citizens, for God's sake. I was raised in the US, but for me being a parent and a parent of a child that is black and a male, it was a little scary, okay? I was a little bit scared, so I made that decision. There are things in Panama that I absolutely love, and there are things in Panama that I absolutely hate. But my love for Panama outweighs the bad, if I'm making any sense. So the good outweighs the bad for me, okay? Everyone has their own personal opinions, and when I state certain things on this channel, it's basically because they're my opinions. You can take whatever you need to take from it, and then you can, if you don't want the rest, you could throw it out, okay? It's just like if you're eating and the rice is really good, but the meat is bad. You'll eat the rice, but throw out the meat. That's all you have to do. Now, the thing that I love about Panama is the weather. Like I said, I grew up in New York City, so it was always really cold. So I had a problem with that. I mean, if I ever decided to move to or come back to the state, it would probably be Florida, because I feel like Florida is the closest that I'm gonna get to Panama. I have grown to love the weather, having access to beaches, and still getting the city life. So for right now, I'm not really interested in moving out of Panama. I've been there for a while and I don't regret my decision at all. When I do get tired of being in Panama, I just come back to the States, visit. But then when I come back to the States, I'm like, I'm ready to go back. Like, even like right now, okay, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm ready to go back. Like, I call my mom and I was even talking to my boyfriend and my friends, and I'm saying to myself, like, we grew up in Brooklyn and Brooklyn is really dirty. Has it always been this dirty, or is it that I'm just now realizing it because I'm not there? You know what I'm saying? So there are things like, I don't know, like New York is just not a place that I can see myself living in ever, actually. I just love Panama. I just love the culture. I love being in contact, with my family from Panama, my cousins, being close to my mom. For the most part, yes, I still enjoy living in Panama. There are, like I said, there are things that I don't like, but it's nothing like too crazy. It's not, basically what I'm saying is the things that I don't like aren't things that I'm unable to deal with, for lack of better words. Panama is the type of country that you create the life that you want. It all depends on you as a person. It all depends on how you are, what type of lifestyle you want to live. You can literally create that if you live in Panama. However, there are cons, okay? So if you have not had a chance to watch my pros and cons of living in Panama, I will leave that, I don't know which side it's going to be on, but you can click on that card and then you can come back to this video. Panama is rich in culture, and it's a country that holds a lot of moral values, something that I feel is missing a lot in the US. I'm not saying that they aren't bad people, but they encourage family. That is something that's very, very important to me, and I feel like even in the school system, they push family. Another thing that I found, which is something that I love so much about Panama, touching the topic of moral values, is the fact that people respect women, okay? Again, disclaimer, there's always an exception to the rule, but I remember, for example, with me being pregnant, and I would go on the train and no one would offer me a seat, okay? I would get maybe like one person maybe out of the whole entire train car, and it would usually be another woman being sympathetic to a pregnant woman. In Panama, it's completely different. If you are pregnant, people will, you know, go out of their way to make sure that you are comfortable. They will just extend themselves to pregnant women, okay? Because they know that women are very important, okay? Domestic violence is a definite no-no in Panama as well. And that is another thing about moral values that I truly, 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 really appreciate about the culture and living in Panama. If someone or a male is disrespecting a woman or getting out of their way, or, you know, being disrespectful to a woman, I can 100% guarantee that another man will come into that woman's defense. I mean, it happened to me one time with a cab driver who literally wanted to like try to fight me, and another guy jumped out. The guy didn't even know me. He jumped out and he was willing to go to bat for me. So those are things that I really, really appreciate about Panama, is the moral values and the fact that people value respect. Respect is a big deal. When you go into locations, everyone is saying good morning, good afternoon. It's so crazy because even with me being here in the States, I'll go into someplace and I say good morning, and the person would be like, anyway, yeah, whatever, and wouldn't even acknowledge that I said good morning, good afternoon. They just really don't care, and it's kind of like a cultural thing, which to me is just like, God. Even the rudest person will say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, okay? Buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches. It's just part of the culture, and teaching people respect, okay? It's just simple respect, and that is something, another thing that I love the most about Panama is that is important. Another thing is that people open the door for you, okay? If you are a woman, they will allow you to go first. If you are a woman, people will open the door for you. Men, I'm talking about, men will open the door for you. It's just a different sense, and I like the fact that they raise their children the same way. And like I said, family is super, super important. So the whole family dynamics is something that they're really, really big on, and that is something that I feel that is missing here in the States. They are teaching the kids that family is super important. They have family day, they have day of the children. It's just a different type of life than it is in the US. I think growing up, I've never had anything that was like family day. They teach the children to honor thy mother and father, okay? That is something that is very important, and I feel like in the US, that is something that isn't really taught at all, because if it was taught, a lot of people, a lot of children wouldn't be outside in the street being disrespectful, right? So yes, it is taught at the home, but children spend most of the days in school, and in school, unfortunately, is where a lot of children will develop certain type of behaviors. So for me, that was something that was really important, is that I wanted my child to be in an environment where family was very important, and in Panama, family dynamics is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Another thing is that in the US, everything is like hustle and bustle. People have to go to work, people have to do this, you have to pay bills. Yeah, you have to pay bills, okay, when you're in Panama, but people aren't as like, you know what I mean? People aren't as like, what's the word I want to say? Like, it's not a hustle and bustle. You know, people are really, really relaxed. Hence why, you know, some people just don't show up to work. Oh my God. I should have made that joke, right? Anyway, people are really chill. People are really, really relaxed. Kind of like I said, like in Florida, people are really, really relaxed. The only thing is that because it's well, not now, but before, it was a very conservative country, and a lot of people, especially older people in Panama, I'm not talking about the younger generation, they are so conservative that there are certain things that they're not used to, right? So for example, wearing braids is something that's normal in the US, right? Back then, you know, a couple of years ago, wearing braids was only something that you would do when you go to carnival. Now it has become a lot more accepting. People can go to work with braids, etc., etc. But every now and then you're still gonna get people that kind of stare at you like, if your hair is a certain color, you're gonna get people that kind of stare at you. If you have too many piercings, you know, people are gonna look at you like. But in the US, that's something that's normal, okay? People probably might look and they'll just keep it moving, but a lot of people in Panama haven't been exposed to that. So seeing things like that, you know, sometimes they have people with the big old hole in the air, like, you know, what you would see in the village, and they would say like, stare looking at you, kind of like, okay? So in the States, you don't get that. So because it's still a developing country, you may get, if you're a little bit too different and it's something that they're not used to, you will get stares. Versus in the US, it's not really the same. Like, people are, okay, it's like nothing. So that's one of the things about Panama that I find to be a little different from living in the States, and kind of what I miss. You know, because it's like, okay, sometimes I may want to wear certain things, but you don't want to wear certain things because you don't want people to stare at you. You know what I mean? Or people to criticize you. It could be, some people could be very, very judgmental, okay? I mean, people are judgmental everywhere, but it's kind of like different because they're judging you based on what there's like culture differences. I mean, for the most part, there's not really much of a difference. It's not, I mean, there are differences, but there's not like huge differences between living in Panama and living in the US. It's just small little things, nothing really for me to be upset about, nothing really for me to say, you know what, I hate it, I want to live here, or I miss the States. No, okay, I don't regret my decision at all. And like I said before, if I ever get tired and I want to change of environment, I just hop on a plane. And that is it. So anyway, I hope this answered your question. If you have any more questions, comments, or concerns, leave it in the comment section. Anyway, guys, as always, thank you for tuning into my videos, and peace and love.